To earn respect at work, it's not about what you do, but rather how you communicate what you do. So I'll break down the 4 most common reasons why you're hurting yourself when you speak, and the 4 ways to fix those mistakes by breaking down the articulate Oppenheimer cast. The first mistake is you ramble when answering a question. And the way to fix this is BLUF, or answer with the bottom line up front. See if you can spot how Cillian Murphy does this when asked how his 20-year experience working with director Christopher Nolan affected his ability to play the role of Oppenheimer.
That's a very good question. I think you move beyond the fact that he is Christopher Nolan, one of the greatest directors in the world, and you've become friends. So you feel very safe in the working environment to try stuff and to make a fool of yourself and to go deep.
You'll notice that the first words that Cillian says directly answers the interviewer's question. The trust he's built with Christopher to experiment and go deeper with his character. He's also deliberately pausing before answering. This is an underlooked tactic that gives you precious time to think through the most direct way to answer the question. And while it can feel awkward to pause, it's perfectly fine to acknowledge occasionally when a question forces you to think deeper. One watch out though, I would avoid saying, "That's a good question," before answering every single question. Otherwise, it's gonna lose its meaning, so use it sparingly.
I remember being on those Batman sets and just being overwhelmed. I was like a kid in a candy store. It was kind of staggering. Whereas now, I suppose, I've had the experience. I'm a lot more focused.
Once you've answered the question, you can then elaborate your point using concrete examples. Cillian's reference of the Batman sets are what I like to call conversational sparks. They usually spark curiosity with your listener because they deviate from the generic statements that people tend to make in conversation. The second mistake is you bore people with your small talk. Don't kick off a meeting asking, "Where are you from?" or "How's the weather out there?" Instead, tell personal stories. Try to spot the key storytelling techniques that Robert Downey Jr. uses when telling the story about how he got the part.
Mine was, I read the script, I was mind blown, and then Chris said, "Will you do it?" So forget text and all that. It cuts right to the chase. That's called a director. He's very direct. And it's why everything, like you said, Matt, by the time I got to set, you said, "Downey, everything happens in front of the camera. You're going to love this."
The most captivating stories are when you can impersonate someone else's voice by reenacting dialogue. This is a more visceral way to transport your audience into a specific moment that they can easily visualize. And an even more powerful way to tell a story is when you can connect the dialogue to a key takeaway in order to make your insight that much more powerful with your listener. Try to spot the third way to command respect as a leader.
You know, the book is American Prometheus. It's this great Pulitzer Prize winning book. He goes, "I'm not calling the movie that, I'm calling it Oppenheimer because it has to be entirely, it is going to be through his eyes." And when I read the script, I had never seen this before. It was written in the first person. Never seen that before, and it gave you as a reader that visceral, that subjective Oppenheimer experience. So instead of going Oppenheimer across to the window, it says, I walk towards the window.
The key is to articulate your point of view, and the corresponding mistake is to not hold an opinion or be too afraid to express it. Not saying anything will make people overlook you. And in particular, I think any leader should strive to accomplish what Matt says of Christopher Nolan right here.
This is what the movie is going to be. And he said, what I need are actors in support of that. This entire thing is going on Cillian's back, and I need you guys to support that, right? And so that was really, that's a great kind of marching orders, very, actionable for us and easy to understand. And every day I was like, all right, how can I help that?
As a leader, avoid making your vision statements prescriptive because it can come off as micromanaging. Instead, I would focus on a singular goal for your team to strive for. This gives your team the needed flexibility to experiment with different solutions towards that same goal. The fourth mistake is that you speak without emotion. And to fix this, I recommend you synchronizing gestures.
You're working with the best actors in the world, legends. And it was like a dream for me. Every day you'd look at the call sheet and you'd see Ken Branagh's coming in tomorrow, or Gary Oldman's coming in tomorrow, or Matt Damon or Downey, and it was just unbelievable. But you just you have to focus on your own job. But those guys were so supportive and so available and so brilliant in all in all the scenes we did.
Even if you tend to speak in a monotone, you can match your gestures with what you're saying. When you synchronize it this way, you come off as more believable and trustworthy than if you were to not use any gestures at all. One particular approach that I like to take with body language is to reenact a scene from a moment in time, just as Killian does with the call sheet. This has a similar arresting effect on your audience, just like reenacting dialogue does. But Killian does do something slightly differently with his voice and his choice of words.
When you get on the floor with actors like these guys and with Chris, you kind of just put that aside and it all becomes kind of about the moment and the truth and the emotion between the actors. And that was just every day, it was a gift. You know, I can't give you one specific point, but there was many scenes in the film, like with Robert and with Emily and with Matt, like they were just kind of electric. You could kind of feel it fizzing. At that point, yeah, it isn't intellectual, it's kind of instinctual and emotional.
The key is to emphasize key words with your voice. You can hear Killian do this with the words gift, electric, fizzing. These are what I call visceral words. Words that give your listener an immediate image to pop in their head. Now, there's one leader from the world of sports who masters the art of nonverbal communication to command the room. Check out this breakdown of football coach Deion Sanders right here.